Did you know that the majority of people on this planet have never actually made a true decision at all in their life? And the reason for this is because so many people haven't been taught how to effectively kill anything. That's right, I said kill. I know that might sound crazy to you, but we're gonna get into the depth of what this means in today's video. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jamal Javanji. I am a life coach by profession. I'm the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Living for a Living, and I'm also the founder and CEO of a coaching and consulting company called Free to Love Coaching Solutions, LLC. And I'm really excited to talk to you about what the word decide means and the power of a true decision. Again, most of us have no idea what it means to actually make a true decision in life. You're probably not aware of this, but the word decide is a very powerful word because words are carriers of energy, and there's intention over years that get built into words. And decide is a very powerful word. Decide actually comes from a root word, and the root word of decide is side, C-I-D-E. Are you familiar with side, C-I-D-E? Side comes from the Latin, which means to kill. Yeah, that's right. Comes from the Latin, which means to kill. Side is really the root of words like suicide, homicide, decide. We don't think of decide in those same vernacular as suicide or homicide, but they all have the root of that word is side, C-I-D-E, which means to kill. So when you truly decide to do something, you're not just choosing one option among many other options, you're actually killing something. I know, it's powerful. Most people don't see decision that way. So for the vast majority of people, we'll have a plethora of options available to us at our disposal, right? And then what we do is we decide, or we choose, I should say. So what happens is we then choose one option among many other viable options. And we typically choose a option that we like the best, that really fits our personality the best, something that we may like or feels good to us. I call that a preference, right? Those are more preferences, but a lot of folks think that that's actually what making a decision is, and it's not. It's choosing a preference. The problem with that, and again, there's nothing wrong with choosing one preference over many other viable options, but the problem with that is that you have all of these options on the table, and all of these options are still alive to you. That means they're viable options, and you choose the one that seems or feels the best in the moment. But again, the problem with that is that whenever there's pushback, whenever you choose an option and you have all these other options available to you, as soon as there is blowback or pushback against something that you have chosen, the preference falls apart. You question it, you let it go, you think it's not the right choice. It doesn't hold up to pressure very well. And this is the problem with making choices out of our preferences. If you truly want to decide to do something, you have to actually do something quite different. A true decision is not a preference. It actually involves killing. The reason that making a choice from a preference is actually not effective and is a real problem for us is because anytime we make a choice, right, we're using the analytical mind, and the analytical mind is really tied to our nervous system. So when we're trying to make a decision about something important, right, our nervous system is usually activated. It's usually a sympathetic nervous system, which was a stress nervous system, fight or flight nervous system, where we feel pressed, we feel stressed, and we need to make a decision. So typically, right, what happens is the nervous system, and this is something you really should know, we should all know about the mind and our nervous system. The mind is actually not designed to transform your life. It's not designed to move your life forward. The human nervous system has no interest in seeing you transform and advance in your life. The stress-based nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, has been designed to keep you alive. It's for survival. It's not to help you transform and move forward in life. So let me tell you why this is a problem. When you make a choice and you have a plethora of choices that are alive and well on the table, and then there's pushback on that choice, your nervous system is designed to keep you safe and comfortable. And oftentimes what you have experienced, what is normative for you, is safe and comfortable, even if it's limiting and holds you back in life. So The nervous system will pull you back every time there is a sense of danger or a challenge to a quote unquote choice you've made or decision you've made. The nervous system will always pull you back to the familiar. Okay. And you will not be able to advance in life. That's the problem with making a choice. When you have a list of options that are available and alive and well, and there's blowback to one of those choices, you'll just go back to what's normal for you every single time. And that's why we stay stuck. That's why people stay stuck. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm going to tell you in this video, I'm going to share two really very simple but powerful stories that illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. But before I get to that, I got to tell you a story. This is a fascinating story, right? It's about the power of decision versus choice. Now, there was a group of guys that they were young and they thought they could conquer the world and there was really no limitations to what they could do. And they would pride themselves on taking these massive adventures, these trips, these hikes. And so there was this group of people and they would find these massive mountains to climb and they would try to scale the mountain, even though maybe they didn't have the right training or the right gear. It was almost a challenge to them to see if they could do it. So this group of guys, they decided they wanted to hike a Himalayan mountain in somewhere in the Himalayas. So this group of people, they scaled the mountain and they actually made it to the top, surprisingly. And they were very euphoric and celebratory and they were all excited about that. But when they were beginning to descend the mountain and they weren't totally prepared and there was a storm that came. It was a massive blizzard, a huge blizzard came. And this blizzard caught them off guard. They didn't have the right gear. They weren't quite ready for that. And one of the people in the group got separated from the rest of the group. Okay. So this guy, he got separated. And as he was separated from his group, invisibility is zero. It's extremely cold. He didn't have the right gear. And to make matters worse, as he's trying to navigate and find his way back to the group, he falls off an embankment and fractures his leg. So he's really badly hurt. So he's trying to walk and he's hobbling on this leg. And the more he puts pressure on it, the worse it gets. And to make matters worse, it's starting to get dark. He has no communication device. He has no way to communicate. He has no way to let anybody know where he is. He doesn't even know where he is himself. He has no communication devices, no maps, nothing. He has nothing. No water even, no food, nothing. So the longer this goes on, fear is starting to set into him. And he's realizing, like, I may not live. I may not survive this. And he's starting to freeze. He can feel frostbite setting into his fingertips and extremities. And one of the things that he said, if I can find a cave somewhere to like spend the next few hours to wait out the storm, that's my best shot at survival. So thankfully he did find a cave. He found like a partial cave and he kind of burrowed himself into the cave. But hypothermia is setting in, freezing cold temperatures setting in, and he's feeling very weak and his leg is swelling, getting worse. And so he just says, I have to stay awake because if I fall asleep, I'll probably freeze to death in my sleep and I won't survive the night. So the sun is by this point setting. He did end up falling asleep out of exhaustion and he woke up several hours later. When he woke up, he's extremely frostbitten, very cold. The storm had passed. The sun is now rising. And as he looked out, the snow was everywhere. It was very blinding to him and he couldn't see very much. And he looks down at his leg and his leg has blown up. It's so swollen and he tried to put pressure on it and he couldn't. And he could feel in his body very weak. He had no energy. And at this point, he wasn't even sure if his team was alive. He had no idea where he was. He had no idea how he was going to communicate with anybody, and his mind started to race. And in his mind, he concluded that he was probably not going to survive. He was going to die right there in that mountain because he didn't know how to get down the mountain. He had no idea where he was. He couldn't move really well because of his leg and his strength, and everything was gone. So he could feel the life leaving his body. And as he began to close his eyes, he recounted this. He said, I had this life review that people talk about when they are having a near-death experience. He started to experience the key moments in his life that he really loved, and the things that the people he loved started coming to his mind. But then he started to remember all the dreams and desires he had with his life. And he was young and in his 20s, and he had thoughts of like he wanted to get married and become a father, and he wanted to do so much with his life, and now it was going to be cut short. And life was going to end. He never foresaw that his life would end right there in a mountain at such a young age. And as he was dwelling on that, he knew that he was right on the verge of letting go and going into his death. He could feel his life leaving the body. And he knew, if I just close my eyes and let go, I will, this is death. And in that moment, he saw it very clearly. Even though his mind was thinking about how are you going to, before that, his mind was like, there's no way you can survive. You have no communication. You don't know how to get down the mountain. There's no one that can find you and help you. There's no way off this mountain. You're going to die here. That's what his mind kept saying. So he just was almost forced into this paralysis where he was going to die. But in that moment, as his life was leaving his body, he knew, I actually have a decision right now to make. I have two choices. I could live or I could die in this moment. Forget the future of how I'm going to get off the mountain. He couldn't even think about that. In that moment, it became so clear. In this moment, you are one moment away from death. What do you choose? What's your decision? And he knew, I have two options, live or die. And he said, I actually had to put to death one of those options, because as long as I had options, I was probably going to stay paralyzed and I would die. I would stay in this place where I would stay stuck right here, and that would kill me. So he knew, I have to make a decision about what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have to put to death one of those options, right? Remember, decide means to kill. So he chose in that moment, I'm going to put to death the option of dying. I know that sounds crazy, but he literally in that moment chose to put to death the option of dying. And that means he was down to one choice, one option. And when you have one option, it's the only option. The only option he had was to live, because he put to death any other options. All he had left was to live. That's a powerful decision. It's a very powerful decision. In that moment, now that he decided to live, what came next was inspiration. He had a thought that literally came into his mind. And the thought said this, what's in your pocket? And he reached into his pocket and he saw that he had taken his wristwatch off and he put his watch in his pocket. So he heard a voice in it. The voice said, pull out the watch from your pocket. So he pulls the watch out from his pocket and he's looking at it and he hears these words. Literally, it was coming to him. The words came to his mind and the words said, I want you to visualize 20 minutes into the future. Look at the minute hand, visualize 20 minutes in the future. So he visualized that and he heard these words. Now look up into the horizon, fix your eyes on something. So he was looking around, everything's blinding white with snow, but he did see a rock way off in the distance, rock sticking out. And when he saw that, he heard these words, your only job in life is to get from here to that rock in 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes to get to that rock. That's it. And as soon as he had those instructions, his mind started trying to go into the future. Well, then what are you going to do once you get to that rock? And then the voice said, stop. Don't think about the future. Your only job is to get from here to that rock in 20 minutes. Then we'll deal with what comes next once you get there. Immediately, he felt some energy. So he got himself on his feet. His leg is excruciating, lots of pain, but he hobbled and he crawled and he got himself to that rock. It took 20 minutes, but he got there in 20 minutes and he collapsed in exhaustion on that rock. After he got his breath back, he heard the same words, pull out your watch, visualize 20 minutes into the future, get to that next rock in 20 minutes. So he did. Now you know where I'm going with this. He actually did that all the way down the mountain and he survived. Amazing, right? So people have asked him, they said, well, how did you survive that? And he said, the only reason I survived it is because I made a decision to put to death any other options except for living. So I put to death the option of dying. And as soon as I made the decision, the strategy of how I was going to live came to me. Most people get paralyzed because they're so focused on how they're going to do something and they don't know how, that when they don't make a decision. And if you don't make a decision, you stay stuck in your familiar patterns. You see where I'm going with this? The decision always comes first. And when you make a true decision, you're putting to death. It's not like I'm choosing one option that's a little bit better than these other options, the pros and cons. That's not a decision. That's a choice. That's a preference. And that will collapse as soon as there's hardship or pushback. But when you make a true decision, you have no other options because you put all the other options to death and you only have this one choice in front of you. Whatever you need, the strategies that you need, whatever you need will come to you to enable you to carry out your decision. It's a proven fact. Try it. Now you see where I'm going with this, right? Yeah, we may not be stuck on a mountain, a Himalayan mountain in the middle of a massive storm, and we need to get down the mountain. But a lot of us are stuck in life. We're stuck in dead-end jobs that are totally out of alignment with who we are. We're stuck in relationships that are dysfunctional. We're stuck in financial patterns where we're just hitting our head against the wall. We're stuck feeling, a sense of depression and malaise in life, not really sure how to get beyond it. Yeah, Some of us are stuck in burnout, a perpetual state of overwhelm. So we're all, quote unquote, hitting a ceiling or stuck somewhere. Most people are. In order to actually get out of that and to transcend and to move into the life that you're meant to live, you actually have to make a decision. Not a choice, not a preference, a actual decision. Now, let me illustrate this to you, okay? These two stories are pretty recent in my life. They involve credit cards, right? You know what a credit card is, right? Something like this, a little credit card. Yeah. Well, I'm a life coach by profession, as you know, and I work with a lot of people, and I have people come to me and they'll seek me out for coaching. So if a person wants to reach out for coaching, I schedule a couple of discovery calls with them where I can hear a little bit more about their situation in their life and what they're seeking to gain from the coaching experience. And then if it's a good fit, I will also tell them in detail on a second call. I will lay out my 90-day one-to-one coaching program called the Energy Acquisition System. And I'll lay that out and describe that for the folks. And if people feel like it's a good fit, if I feel like it's a good fit, if they do, then, we'll work together. Well, I recently had a call with a young lady who was in a pinch. She was experiencing some challenges in her life, and she reached out to me. We set up a couple calls, and on the calls, it became very clear that she really needed some assistance. And I shared with her some reasons why she was stuck in life and what was going on behind the scenes, so to speak, or under the hood of her life. And she got it, and she understood it. It was very insightful for her. And when I did take the time to share the coaching program with her, she was pretty clear that that's what she needed. I mean, when she leaned into it, she's like, that is actually what I need. This system could really benefit me. And it just made sense for her to move forward and for us to work together in a coaching dynamic. And I always tell people it's an investment. It's investment of time. It's investment of resources, of treasure, of money. It requires a significant investment for people to actually do well and receive all that the program has for them. They have to be invested. And so when I shared with her the financial piece of that, what it costs for the program, it was a bit challenging for her. It stretched her. She could feel that sense of that this is a stretch for her. But when she leaned into her intuitive dimension, when she really leaned in, she wanted to go ahead with it. She wanted to move forward, right? So she made a choice in that moment. I'm using that word very specifically. She made a choice in that moment to, hey, why not? Let's go with it. So she pulled out her credit card to make the purchase. And when she put the card in, it got declined. Now, she wasn't sure why it got declined, probably because it was an expenditure that the bank didn't recognize. And typically they'll flag that until they can figure out that that's not a fraudulent charge, right? But anyway, it got declined in the moment, and it kind of sent her back. She had to go, I wonder why that got declined. So we got off the call, and she was going to figure that one out with her bank. But in the brief amount of time that she got off the call and checked with her bank, she got cold feet. She started to think about it, right? Because what does the mind do? As soon as there's pushback, right? When you have choices, as soon as there's pushback, and for her, she kind of prided herself at like being intuitive and leaning in and making decisions that feel good for her, right? And the price was a little bit stretching for her, and the pushback with the bank declining her card kind of jolted her. And in that little bit of time, her mind just said, is this really the right decision for you? I don't know if this is the right decision. So she decided to not sign up for coaching. Now, that's an interesting, right? Because she had a choice. Now, if she made a decision, now a lot of people, and I try to tell this to a lot of people, if you are content living the kind of life that you're living, and you want to go on another year, another 6 months, another decade, living the way you've been living, staying exactly where you are, if that's acceptable to you, then coaching's not right for you. Do not sign up for my program. The program that I conduct and that I utilize with people, the people who do the best with me as their life coach are desperate people who are like, it is unacceptable for me to live the way I've been living, kind of like the guy in the mountain. It's unacceptable for me to die. I refuse to die. This guy in the mountain was like, I refuse to die. It's unacceptable for me. Now, when something is unacceptable, when the choices that are on the table become unacceptable for you, then you will make the decision to put those options to death. And then there's really only one way. There's only one option. That's to move forward. Okay. That's it. Now, for this lady who had come to me, she wasn't at that point. She's content to actually go back to her pattern. Interestingly enough, one of the things that she wanted help with is self-sabotage. because one of the things that she typically does is she'll get to a point in life where she's almost going to have a breakthrough, and then she'll question herself and sabotage her success and go right back to where she was. That is actually why she came to me for coaching. And even in the process of signing up for coaching, she went right back to the pattern, and her mind convinced her, is this really the right decision? So she second guessed her intuitive dimension and went back to what's comfortable, which is not spending the money and investing in herself, and not taking the time or energy to really move forward and transform her life by taking a deep dive internally, which she knew she needed to do. But it was a choice. It was one of many choices. For her, she could always come back and revisit this at a later time, 6 months from now, a year from now. And that never works, because that just says, I'm not ready to decide. And unless you're ready to decide to put to death any other option, you'll stay stuck. And the mind will convince you that's the right choice. That's how the nervous system works. It's designed to keep you safe and comfortable in your what's familiar, and not to transform. Because in order to transform in life, you have to meet your edge and go beyond what is familiar. Does that make sense? Now, another story, and literally this is how life works. It gives us these little pictures. It was probably the following day. My wife and I are in the process. In a few weeks, we'll be traveling, one of our favorite places to go is France, right? So we're going to be taking a trip to Europe and visiting France, and we have a lot of cool things planned, and I'm excited about the trip. And I was booking an Airbnb, somewhere to stay in one of the little cities that we're staying in France in a few weeks. And so I put my credit card in, right? I pulled out my credit card to book the travel, and guess what happened? That's right. Card got declined. Now, that's fairly common, right? My bank didn't recognize the charge. They wanted to make sure it wasn't fraudulent. So I got a text from my bank that said, are you trying to make a purchase at this website, blah, blah, blah. And of course I was. So they just wanted to know if it was fraudulent. And so I said no. And then I put my card back in and made the purchase and booked our stay in France. Now, why am I telling you that story? Well, honestly, when my card got declined, did it throw me for a loop? Did it make me question, should I be going to France? Not at all. Never crossed my mind. The thought never occurred to me that I shouldn't go to France. The card just got declined, and I figured, maybe they're checking to see if it's a fraudulent card. Let me figure out what this is about. And then I saw a text that my bank had sent me, and it made sense. Either way, I was going to call the bank and figure out what was going on. I never questioned whether I should go to France. As soon as I resolved the issue, I booked our stay, and no problem. Now, why didn't I question it? Right. I already made the decision to go. It was never an option for me not to go to France. I already made the decision. When you make a decision to do something, no obstacle can stand in your way. I want you to know that. When you truly make a decision to do something, nothing can stop you. What comes first? The strategy, the know-how? Do you need to know how it's all going to work out for you? No. You just need to make a decision. Not a choice, not a preference, a decision. You need to put to death any other option, even if you don't know how it's going to work. What comes first is always the decision. The strategy comes later. How you show up and, oh yeah, I got to call the bank and I'll figure that out. That's just a little example. But where are you in your life? There's some of you watching this video, you need to make a decision. And you probably need to make it today. What do you need to decide? What options are still alive on the table for you that you need to put to death? Which options do you need to put to death? When you decide to put them to death, your path will become very clear for you, and you'll be able to move forward, but not until you decide. And for some of you watching this video, you may need the assistance of others. None of us get here on our own. If we could do this on our own, this is why people come to me for coaching. And then they question themselves, I should know this. I should be able to do this on my own. If you could do it on your own, you would have already done it. All of us need assistance at certain points in our life. And some of you watching this video know that you do need support, whether it's finding a therapist, finding a life coach, getting some assistance in your patterns. And if that's you today, let me encourage you to make a decision. Decide that you're not going to spend another year the way you spent the past years. Life is short. You need to step into everything that you want to experience in life. And the only thing that's waiting is your decision, not a choice, an actual decision. What are you going to decide? If this video has spoken to you, if it's been encouraging for you, please like the video. It's something you can do very easily, and it's actually something very effective. It doesn't cost you anything. Just hit the like and the subscribe button. Really helps get this video out to more people. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. What decision do you need to make in your life right now? What from this video spoke to you? And if you are one of those people that feel like I really could possibly use some assistance, I'd like to hear more about your one-to-one 90-day coaching program called the Energy Acquisition System. There's a link below this video, and you could, go to my website, hear from some folks that have worked with me in the past, and you can also book your free consultation call so that we could talk more about it and see if it's a good fit. I'm not able to work with everybody, but I could possibly work with you depending on if it's a good fit. Okay? So don't be afraid. It's free to reach out. It doesn't cost you anything. All right? And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.